Every person carries two invisible forces within: belief and limitation. One whispers possibilities, the other screams doubts. One pushes you to move, the other convinces you to stay still. These forces shape your life more than any external circumstance. The difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck isn't luck or opportunity. It's which voice they choose to believe. Limits are not solid walls, they are shadows, illusions that fade the moment you confront them. They are built by fear, strengthened by failure, and fed by your memories of when you once tried and didn't succeed. But belief is a fire. It burns through doubt, it lights your path, and it teaches you to keep walking even when you can't see the finish line. You were not born with limits. You were taught them. As a child, you believed you could do anything, run faster, dream bigger, reach higher. The world slowly taught you to doubt. People's opinions, past mistakes, and failures began to build invisible walls in your mind. And one day you started to believe that those walls were real. But they are not. The human mind is capable of far more than it allows itself to attempt. The moment you decide to believe in your own power, those limits begin to lose their meaning. You were not created to be ordinary. You were created with the potential to break boundaries, to stretch beyond comfort, to discover how powerful your spirit truly is. When you believe in yourself, you become unstoppable. Not because life becomes easy, but because you stop surrendering to doubt. You begin to move with conviction, to trust your instincts, and to understand that failure is not the end. It's simply information. Every setback becomes fuel. Every obstacle becomes training. Your belief transforms pain into purpose. The difference between belief and limitation is not the situation, it's perception. Two people can face the same storm. One sees destruction, the other sees the chance to grow stronger. Belief changes how you interpret life. It gives meaning to struggle and turns it into strength. You cannot wait for others to believe in you. You cannot wait for validation, support, or understanding. People will doubt what they cannot see, but they cannot see what you see inside your mind. Your vision belongs to you alone. It's your responsibility to protect it, to nurture it, and to trust it even when no one else does. The greatest victories are not won in public, they're won in silence. In the quiet moments when you choose belief over fear, when you refuse to give in to the voice that says you're not enough. Those moments build the foundation of your confidence. Life doesn't stop you, your disbelief does. Every person who has ever achieved something great faced moments of doubt, but they kept moving because their belief was stronger than their fear. That's the secret, not perfection, not luck, but persistence rooted in belief. Every time you choose to believe, you rewrite your story. You start to act differently, think differently, and feel differently. You begin to attract opportunities that match your energy. Belief is magnetic. It pulls success toward you. Ask yourself, how much of your life has been controlled by limits that aren't even real? How many dreams have you buried under the weight of I can't, I'm not ready, or I don't deserve it? These are not facts, they are thoughts, and thoughts can be changed. You have the power to create new ones, stronger ones that lift you instead of holding you down. Every great journey begins with one decision, to trust yourself. That decision is the spark that sets everything else in motion. The greatest power you possess is not money, not influence, not opportunity, it's belief. Because belief turns ideas into action, dreams into reality, and pain into wisdom. It doesn't matter how many times you've failed before. What matters is what you choose to believe now. Every second you choose faith over fear, you reclaim a piece of your power. And as that belief grows, limits lose their control. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and start seeing yourself as the creator of your destiny. You were designed to rise. You were born with more strength than you've ever used, more courage than you've ever felt, and more potential than you've ever imagined. Your only real enemy is the voice inside that says you can't. Silence it. Replace it with the truth, I can, I will, I must. That's how transformation begins. Not with the world changing around you, but with you deciding to believe in yourself more than your limits. That decision alone can rewrite your entire future. Most people think limits are real. They believe that some people are born lucky, that success belongs only to the chosen few, and that greatness is reserved for those with special gifts. They don't see that the strongest walls holding them back are invisible. built inside the mind through years of doubt, fear, and conditioning. Every time you tell yourself, I can't, you strengthen those walls. Every time you compare yourself to others, you add another brick. And slowly those walls begin to feel permanent, as if they were part of reality. But they're not. They are illusions, fragile beliefs dressed as facts. Once you understand that, you begin to see how false limits can disappear the moment you stop believing in them. The truth is, limits are rarely physical. They are mental barriers shaped by what you've been told and what you've accepted as truth. Society tells you what's realistic. People around you tell you what's possible. And slowly, you shrink your dreams to fit those expectations. You stop reaching because others stopped reaching. You stop trying because others settled. But your life was never meant to be a reflection of someone else's fears. You were not created to live within the boundaries others set for themselves. The size of your dream is a reflection of your faith, not your resources. The world changes only when someone refuses to believe that limits are final. You've seen it before. Someone with nothing rises from nowhere and achieves what the world said couldn't be done. That's not luck. That's the destruction of the illusion. The only difference between those who achieve greatness and those who remain ordinary is belief. Those who rise refuse to let failure define them. They refuse to let fear dictate their potential. They understand that their limitations are self-imposed, and once they challenge them, their mind begins to open. Every time they take one more step beyond what they thought was possible, the world expands. What was once unimaginable becomes normal. What once seemed impossible becomes easy. Every human being has two worlds, the one outside and the one inside. The outer world reflects the inner one. When you fill your inner world with belief, strength, and confidence, your outer world begins to bend to match it. When you fill it with doubt and excuses, the world becomes small and suffocating. You begin to see only problems, not possibilities. The secret is to reverse the process, to build the inner world so strong that no external limitation can survive in its presence. The world responds to conviction. It tests those who hesitate, but rewards those who believe without question. You are not bound by your past, your education, or your environment. You are bound only by the strength of your belief in yourself. History is filled with people who started with nothing and built everything. What they had was not privilege, not perfection, but a relentless refusal to accept limits. They saw failure as feedback, rejection as redirection, and obstacles as the universe's way of asking, how badly do you want it? Every time they answered with persistence, the illusion of limits weakened. Every no they faced turned into a louder yes inside their mind. The moment you realize that the only true prison exists in your thoughts, gain your freedom. You stop waiting for opportunities and start creating them. You stop looking for approval and start trusting your own vision. You stop asking, can I, and start declaring, I will. The illusion of limits loses all power the second you understand that your potential has no ceiling. The only thing that defines what's possible for you is how deeply you're willing to believe it. Once that belief becomes stronger than your fear, life opens up like a door that was never locked. It just needed you to turn the handle with conviction. Belief is not a wish, not a passing thought, not a moment of hope that fades when life gets hard. Belief is a command. It's a message you send to your mind that says, this is who I am. This is what I will do. This is what I will become. When belief takes root, it transforms the way you think, act, and respond to challenges. It changes your energy. It changes your decisions. It changes your direction. Every great transformation in life begins with this internal declaration, I can and I will. Once your mind accepts this as truth, it starts aligning every thought, every emotion, and every habit toward making it real. Belief is not just emotional, it's mechanical. It turns doubt into focus, hesitation into motion, and obstacles into fuel. When belief becomes strong enough, nothing external can overpower it. Belief is the force that activates the hidden power of the mind. Inside you lies a system designed to follow whatever command it receives most consistently. If your dominant thought is fear, your mind finds reasons to retreat. But if your dominant thought is belief, your mind finds paths to advance. The subconscious mind doesn't judge, it doesn't analyze, it obeys. It takes the instructions you repeat most often and brings them to life through your behavior, your focus, and your choices. That's why belief is so powerful. It programs your subconscious with direction. When you believe you can, your subconscious starts gathering proof to support that belief. It filters opportunities, attracts resources, and opens your awareness to possibilities you would have ignored before. Every breakthrough in history began with belief. Before every invention, every achievement, every miracle, someone believed it was possible. They had no evidence, no guarantee, no permission. They simply had belief so strong that it made them act in ways others couldn't understand. That's the difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary. The ordinary wait for proof before they believe. The extraordinary believe until they create proof. Belief changes how you interpret failure. It turns defeat into feedback, making you sharper, wiser, and more resilient. It tells you that every setback is a setup, a step forward disguised as a struggle. When you truly believe, you stop waiting for signs, you start creating them. You no longer rely on motivation or luck because your belief itself becomes your engine. It drives you to act even when you're tired, to persist even when you fail, and to rise even when you fall. You begin to realize that belief is not something you have only when things go right. It's something you hold on to when everything goes wrong. That's when belief shows its real power. It keeps you moving through the darkness, trusting that the light will appear as long as you don't stop walking. Your belief becomes your weapon, your shield, and your compass. It guides you when the path is unclear, protects you from doubt, and cuts through fear like a blade through fog. Belief gives birth to resilience. It strengthens your identity, reminding you that no matter what happens outside, your inner power remains untouched. Once you begin to operate from belief instead of insecurity, you stop seeking validation and start creating results. You stop needing to prove yourself and start living as proof of what's possible. When belief becomes your foundation, you live differently. You speak differently. You think differently. You stop chasing opportunities and start attracting them. The energy of belief is magnetic. It draws to you the circumstances that match your conviction. This is not magic, it's psychology. Your energy, your tone, your consistency, they influence how people respond to you, how doors open, and how the world mirrors your mindset. The world doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you believe you deserve. So believe in your strength more than your fears, your vision more than your obstacles, and your purpose more than your pain. Because the moment your belief grows stronger than your limits, your destiny changes forever. Fear disguises itself as logic. It doesn't shout, whispers. It tells you to wait until the timing is right. It convinces you that you're not ready yet, that you need more information, that you should play it safe. It sounds reasonable, but it's a lie. Fear is the most dangerous illusion the mind creates because it feels so real. It builds invisible chains around your potential, holding you back from what's already within your reach. The truth is, fear doesn't stop you. Your belief in fear does. Every time you listen to that quiet voice of hesitation, you strengthen it. And every time you face it, you weaken it. Fear is a parasite that feeds on doubt. But the moment you choose belief, it starves. Fear lives in the same place belief does, your mind. They cannot coexist for long. One will always destroy the other. If you feed fear with your attention, it grows. If you feed belief with your focus, fear dies. That's why the most successful, resilient people are not fearless. They've simply learned to believe more than they fear. They've trained their minds to move forward even when the voice of fear screams, "Stop." They understand that fear doesn't disappear before you take the leap. It disappears after. You can't think your way out of fear. You act your way out. Every action you take in faith rewires your brain to associate movement with safety, not danger. Slowly, fear loses its grip, and courage takes its place. The mind is built to protect you from pain, not to make you successful. That's why it always warns you when you step outside your comfort zone. It confuses growth with danger. It says, stay where it's familiar, because familiarity feels safe, even if it's miserable. Fear wants to keep you in the known, but belief pulls you into the unknown, where transformation lives. If you only move when you feel ready, you'll spend your whole life waiting. Fear will always find a new excuse to keep you still. The secret is to act while you're afraid, to move before you feel prepared, because courage isn't the absence of fear, it's belief in motion. Fear tries to make you believe that uncertainty means danger, but in truth, Uncertainty means possibility. It's the space where new paths appear, where your potential expands, and where life tests whether you truly want what you say you want. Every time you face fear, you prove something powerful to yourself, that you can survive discomfort, that you can endure pressure, that you can rise stronger than before. This proof becomes confidence. Confidence isn't built by avoiding fear, but by confronting it. The people who seem fearless aren't born that way. They've simply practiced walking through fear until it lost its control over them. Hebrew, fear thrives in silence and stillness. It grows stronger when you hesitate, overthink, or seek reassurance. The only way to silence fear is to move. Action is its greatest enemy. When you take one small step forward, fear loses its authority. It begins to fade in the presence of momentum. You realize that most of what you were afraid of never even happens. It existed only in your imagination. That's why belief must lead your life. Belief tells you to trust that even if you stumble, you'll stand again. It reminds you that fear has no real power over someone who refuses to stop. Every great leap in your life will feel terrifying at first. You'll question yourself. You'll doubt your ability. But that trembling, that uneasiness, it's not weakness. It's the feeling of growth. It's your old self being challenged by your new self. You are not meant to eliminate fear. You are meant to master it. Let it remind you that you are stepping into something greater. Let it fuel your hunger to grow, because the moment your belief becomes stronger than your fear, your life transforms. The chains that once held you back fall away, and you finally realize that the only thing you were ever afraid of was your own power. Gout is the silent killer of dreams. It doesn't destroy you suddenly. It eats away at your confidence slowly, one thought at a time. It starts as a whisper. What if I fail? Then it grows louder. What if I'm not good enough? Soon it becomes a habit, and before you realize it, your potential begins to fade. Doubt is more dangerous than failure because failure gives you lessons, but doubt stops you before you even begin. It convinces you to stay still, to play safe, to wait until the right time. But the right time never comes. It tricks you into believing that certainty must come before action, when in truth, certainty is born from action. Doubt doesn't protect you, it imprisons you. It keeps you small while convincing you that you're being careful. The most tragic thing about doubt is that it doesn't reflect truth. It reflects fear. It's not proof that you can't, it's proof that you're scared. And that's okay. Everyone feels fear. But when you start believing your doubts more than your potential, you hand control of your life to your insecurities. You start shrinking your vision to fit your comfort. You stop trying things that could change your life because you're afraid they might not work. Yet the irony is, by avoiding failure, you fail by default. You fail to grow. You fail to evolve. You fail to experience what could have been yours if only you had tried. Doubt, doesn't just steal opportunities, it steals identities. It makes you forget who you are and what you're capable of. But doubt only has power when you give it attention. When you stop feeding it, it begins to die. Every time you take a small action in the direction of your goals, you weaken the voice of uncertainty. Action is the antidote to doubt. You don't need to feel ready, you just need to move. Because confidence isn't something you start with, it's something you build through repetition. Every time you act despite doubt, your mind records a new truth, I can. That truth becomes stronger with every step you take. Eventually, you stop asking, can I do this? And start declaring, of course I can. Doubt can't survive in the presence of consistent effort. Understand this. Doubt is not your enemy, it's a signal. It shows up right before growth. It appears when you're stepping into something bigger than you've done before. That means you're on the right path. Most people interpret doubt as a warning to stop, but the strong see it as a sign to keep going. They know doubt means they're stretching their potential, that they're entering a new level of life. The difference lies in interpretation. The same voice that tells one person to quit tells another to push harder. And that difference changes everything. When you allow doubt to rule your life, you live reactively, waiting for reassurance, waiting for certainty, waiting for someone else to tell you it's okay to try. But those who rise don't wait for permission. They act with faith. They understand that clarity doesn't come before movement, it comes through movement. You gain confidence by doing the things that scare you. You gain belief by surviving moments you thought would break you. The more you act, the less doubt can control you because you're too busy proving it wrong. The truth is, you don't need to be certain of the outcome. You just need to be certain of your effort. Doubt will always whisper that it's safer to do nothing, but nothing is where dreams die. Every time you silence doubt with action, you build momentum, and momentum is belief made visible. It pushes you forward even when your mind hesitates. You begin to realize that you never needed to eliminate doubt. You only needed to move despite it. And once you do, the voice that once said you can't becomes silent, replaced by a stronger, more powerful truth: you already are. An unbreakable mind is not something you're born with. It's something you build. It's shaped in silence, through pain, failure, and repetition. Every challenge you face, every disappointment you endure, and every obstacle you overcome is a brick in the foundation of mental strength. But most people never reach this level because they run from the very experiences that would make them stronger. They avoid struggle, avoid discomfort, avoid pressure. Yet those are the exact things that forge resilience. The unbreakable mind is not made in comfort. It's made in the fire of adversity. You must be willing to be tested, to be stretched, to be broken open, because that's how belief becomes unshakable. The strongest minds are not the ones that never fall, but the ones that rise every time they do. When life gets hard, most people think it's punishment. They think the universe is against them, that things aren't meant to work out. But what if every challenge was actually a question? How much do you believe in yourself? Every hardship you face is an invitation to strengthen that belief. Pain is not the enemy, it's the gym where your faith trains. Every rejection, every failure, every disappointment, they are lessons disguised as losses. If you can endure the pain without losing belief, you unlock a new version of yourself. That's how an unbreakable mind is formed. Not through success, but through surviving what was meant to break you. An unbreakable mindset is not about being emotionless or immune to fear. It's about choosing courage, despite fear, choosing hope despite chaos, choosing persistence despite exhaustion. It's knowing that you don't have to control everything. You only need to control how you respond. You become unbreakable when your focus shifts from the problem to the purpose. You stop asking, why me, and start asking, what can I learn from this? That shift in perspective is power. It transforms obstacles into opportunities. It turns pain into wisdom. It replaces frustration with patience. Every situation that once hurt you begins to serve you. A Brewer. The secret to building an unbreakable mind is consistency. Every day you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence grows. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it, your faith strengthens. The unbreakable mind is built through small acts of discipline repeated until they become identity. It's not built by what you do once. It's built by what you refuse to quit doing. The world respects consistency because it's rare. When you remain disciplined through chaos, you teach your mind that emotions don't dictate actions. Commitment does. That's how belief turns into power, by proving to yourself that you can be trusted to stay the course no matter how hard it gets. When the world doubts you, when circumstances test you, when nothing seems to move, that's when you must stay loyal to your vision. Don't betray your belief just because progress feels slow. Remember, growth is invisible before it becomes undeniable. Seeds take time to root before they bloom. The same happens within you. What feels like stagnation is preparation. What feels like delay is construction. Life is building the foundation of your strength when you least expect it. Trust that the struggle is not against you, it's building you. The pain you feel today is shaping the resilience you'll need tomorrow. An unbreakable mind doesn't seek comfort. It seeks clarity. It doesn't depend on external validation. It depends on inner conviction. When you reach that point where no opinion, no failure, no setback can destroy your focus, you've mastered yourself. That's true power, not controlling the world, but mastering your reaction to it. When you realize that every storm can only shake you if you let it, you stop fearing the wind. You walk through life with quiet strength, knowing that no matter what happens, you won't break. You'll rebuild, because you've learned that every test, every scar, every hardship was never meant to stop you. It was meant to remind you how powerful belief becomes when you refuse to quit. Every person who has ever achieved greatness has faced a war within themselves. Not a war with the world, but a silent, invisible battle between belief and limitation. Every time you doubt yourself, every time you tell yourself you're not ready, not capable, or not good enough, that is your limit speaking. It's the voice built by fear, failure, and the memory of pain. But beneath that voice lies another one, quieter but infinitely more powerful. It's the voice of belief, the voice that whispers, "Try again." The voice that tells you that what you want is not impossible, that you are not defined by what you couldn't do yesterday, but by what you're willing to attempt today. The difference between the ones who rise and the ones who stay stuck has never been intelligence, luck, or talent. It's belief. It's the inner conviction that says, "I can and I will," even when the evidence says otherwise. When you believe in yourself, something extraordinary happens inside you. Your mind begins to align with your intention. You start to see possibilities where others see obstacles. You begin to take risks that most people run from. You no longer wait for permission to move forward because you realize the only permission you ever needed was your own. Belief is not about arrogance or blind optimism. It's about faith in your ability to figure things out. It's about trusting that no matter what stands in your way, you can adapt, learn, a day grow stronger. Most people never reach their potential not because they lack ability, but because they stop believing they can change. They surrender to their limits, thinking those limits define their reality. But limits only live in your mind until you destroy them with persistence and faith. When you understand that belief is the foundation of all achievement, you stop waiting for external validation. You stop chasing approval and start building inner strength. The truth is, no one will believe in you as much as you must believe in yourself. People may support you, but they can't sustain you. Only self-belief can carry you through the moments when everything seems to collapse, because there will be moments when life tests you, when everything you've worked for feels uncertain, when nothing seems to go right. In those moments, belief is the only fuel that keeps your spirit alive. It's the spark that ignites hope when failure tries to bury it. But belief alone isn't enough. It must be stronger than your limits. Limits are built through repetition of doubt. Every time you tell yourself you can't, that thought digs deeper into your subconscious. It becomes a program running your life without your awareness. To break it, you must replace those thoughts with new commands. I can learn, I can improve, I can handle this. That's how you rewire your mind. It's a psychological shift, moving from fear-based thinking to possibility-based thinking. And that shift changes everything, because once your mind accepts that you are capable, your actions will start to align with that truth. The walls that once looked solid will begin to crack. The fears that once seemed massive will begin to shrink. Self-belief is not a one-time decision, it's a daily practice. You have to nurture it every single day. You have to remind yourself that your potential has no expiration date. You have to keep showing up even when it hurts, even when the results are invisible. Because true belief, EF is not tested when things are easy. It's tested when you're standing in the dark with no guarantee of light, but you still move forward. That is belief stronger than limits. That is what transforms ordinary people into unstoppable forces. Every dream begins as a fragile idea. It starts as a spark, a quiet what if in the back of your mind. But between that spark and the reality you desire stands one question. Do you believe you can? Because that single belief shapes everything that follows. When you don't believe, every obstacle looks impossible. Every failure feels final. Every setback becomes proof that you weren't meant for more. But when you do believe, that same obstacle becomes a lesson. That same failure becomes feedback. And every setback becomes a stepping stone. The truth is, your belief defines how far you can go. The limits you think you have aren't the ones life has given you. They're the ones you've accepted. The world has a strange way of testing your belief. It challenges you to see whether you'll surrender to fear or stand firm in faith. Every challenge you face isn't meant to destroy you. It's meant to reveal how much you truly believe in your own power. Many people give up not because they are weak, but because they stop believing before the miracle happens. They confuse temporary defeat with permanent failure. They think their dream is dead when it's only dormant, waiting for belief to awaken it again. Every great success story is written by someone who refused to let their belief die in the face of disappointment. They kept going when others quit. They kept believing when there was no sign of progress. They looked beyond what they could see and trusted what they knew deep within, that they were meant for more. Belief is the seed that grows even in the driest soil. It doesn't matter how long it takes. What matters is that you keep watering it with effort, persistence, and faith. You cannot reach the top while doubting your ability to sigh. MB. Every great leap in your life will demand a greater level of belief. The moment you start thinking you can't, your mind begins to create evidence to prove it. It starts highlighting everything that could go wrong, every past mistake, every reason to stay small. That is your limits voice, the voice that thrives on fear. But belief silences that voice. Belief says, I've fallen before, but I'm still here. Belief says, I've been rejected, but I'm not done. Belief says, my past doesn't decide my future. I do. When you adopt that mindset, your confidence becomes unshakable because it's no longer built on circumstances. It's built on conviction. The most powerful transformation happens when belief becomes your default state of mind. When you stop asking, can I do this, and start saying, how can I do this? That shift removes hesitation and replaces it with momentum. It doesn't mean you'll never doubt again, but it means doubt will no longer control you. You'll still feel fear, but you'll act anyway. You'll still fall, but you'll rise faster. You'll stop measuring success by how easy the path is and start measuring it by how strong your belief remains when things get hard. Because belief doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you become. It turns a dreamer into a doer, a follower into a leader, and a worrier into a warrior. The greatest tragedy isn't living without success, it's living without belief. Because without belief, even the smallest dream feels unreachable. But with belief, even the biggest dream feels inevitable. You were born with everything you need to rise: intelligence, creativity, resilience. But none of it matters if you don't believe you can use it. Your potential is infinite, but your belief decides how much of it you'll ever experience. So choose to believe, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Every time you choose belief over fear, you expand your limits a little more. Every time you act in faith, you reprogram your mind to expect victory. That is how the impossible becomes possible. Ibrahim, belief is not born from comfort. It is forged in resistance. In those moments when everything inside you screams to give up, but something deeper whispers, keep going. That whisper is the voice of your higher self, the part of you that sees beyond failure, beyond pain, beyond the illusion of limits. The truth is, every obstacle you encounter is a mirror reflecting how much you trust yourself. Do you crumble at the first sign of difficulty, or do you rise knowing that this challenge exists to strengthen your faith? Every trial you face is an invitation to expand your belief. You either let it break you or you let it build you. The people who rise in life are not those who never feel doubt, but those who have trained their minds to move forward despite it. They understand that belief is not about ignoring fear, it's about mastering it. It's about standing tall when everything in you wants to run. Because courage is not the absence of fear, it is belief that something greater lies beyond it. When you look closely at those who reach extraordinary levels of success, you'll notice a pattern. They've built their belief through failure, not success. They've fallen more times than they've won, yet they kept moving forward. They learned that each failure is a lesson, not a label. Each mistake is a tool, not a sentence. That's the difference between those who succeed and those who don't. One group sees failure as proof they're not enough, while the other sees it as proof they're getting closer. Your belief grows when you stop seeing failure as the end and start seeing it as evidence that you're trying. Because the person who keeps trying cannot lose forever. Eventually, persistence powered by belief turns impossible goals into inevitable realities. The human mind is a powerful machine. It will believe whatever you repeatedly tell it. If you feed it doubt, it will create fear. If you feed it it will create strength. That's why belief must be practiced like a discipline. Every thought you entertain shapes the direction of your life. When you tell yourself, I can't, your subconscious mind accepts that as truth and limits your actions to match it. But when you say, I can, even if you're not sure how yet, your subconscious begins searching for solutions instead of excuses. It activates creativity, motivation, and courage. It draws opportunities that match your new belief. That's how belief transforms from thought into reality. It's not magic, it's psychology. Your brain doesn't act on what's true, it acts on what you believe to be true. Ibrahim, but belief requires consistency. You can't believe in yourself only when things go right. You must believe even when everything seems to fall apart, because belief built on comfort collapses under pressure, but belief built on struggle becomes unbreakable. Every storm you face is designed to test your foundation. If your belief is weak, you'll crumble. But if your belief is rooted in purpose, you'll rise stronger. There is a power that comes from refusing to give up, a calm strength that says, I may not have all the answers, but I will not stop until I find them. That's what makes ordinary people unstoppable. The more you persist through struggle, the more evidence you create that you are capable. And the more evidence you create, the stronger your belief becomes. Ibro. Eventually, belief turns into identity. You stop just believing in yourself. You start believing as yourself. You stop waiting to become confident and start acting like the person you were always meant to be. That's when transformation happens. That's when doubt fades, not because it disappears, but because it loses power over you. You no longer need external validation because your belief has become self-sustaining. You no longer seek approval from others because you've already given it to yourself. You start to live with quiet conviction, a knowing. Gee, that whatever life throws at you, you can handle it. That is belief in its highest form, not fragile hope, but unshakable certainty. And that certainty is what breaks limits and creates miracles. Every person reaches a point where the old version of themselves must die for the new one to rise. That point feels uncomfortable, confusing, even painful, because your limits will fight to survive. They've lived inside you for years, convincing you that comfort is safety, that fear is protection, that failure means finality. But belief doesn't live in comfort. It thrives in discomfort. It grows in the soil of uncertainty, watered by effort and persistence. The moment you decide to rise beyond who you've been, your limits will scream louder than ever. They will whisper reasons, excuses, and fears. They will remind you of past pain and failures, but that's not the truth. That's resistance. That's your old identity trying to pull you back to the familiar. When you feel that pull, understand it's not a sign to stop. It's a sign that you're growing, because belief becomes real only when you move in the face of fear, not away from it. Growth never feels comfortable, but that discomfort is the proof that your old limits are dying. You must learn to treat every moment of doubt as a test to prove your faith in yourself. Most people wait for belief to appear before they act, but belief grows through action. You don't wait to feel ready. You build readiness through movement. Every time you take a step forward despite fear, your belief deepens. Every time you confront your weakness instead of running from it, your power expands. Every day you show up when you don't feel like it, you're teaching your mind a new truth. I can depend on myself. That truth is the foundation of confidence, because real confidence is not built on outcomes. It's built on evidence that you can keep going no matter what. The more you collect that evidence through effort, the more unshakable you. Our belief becomes. It's not luck or magic, it's discipline. You train your mind to believe by proving to it that you won't quit. The problem is that most people give up right before their breakthrough. They stop digging when they're inches away from gold. They start strong but lose belief the moment progress slows down. They want results without patience, growth without persistence. But the ones who truly rise are those who keep their faith steady when the world goes silent. They understand that belief is not about immediate proof. It's about trust in the process. Every seed takes time to grow beneath the surface before it shows life above the ground. Your goals are the same. Just because you don't see results yet doesn't mean progress isn't happening. Belief means staying loyal to what you want, even when you can't see it yet. It means trusting that your effort is never wasted, even when nothing seems to move. The more you live with that kind of belief, the stronger your internal power becomes. You stop reacting to setbacks emotionally. You start viewing them logically, as feedback, not failure. You stop measuring your worth by temporary outcomes and start seeing yourself as a long-term project. You begin to realize that no loss can destroy you unless you give it permission to. And when you reach that level of mental strength, limits lose their grip on you. You move with calmness in chaos, faith in uncertainty, and focus in distraction. The storms that used to scare you now become your training ground, because the more you overcome, the less you fear. And the less you fear, the more limitless you become. Eventually, your belief will carry a power that others can feel, not because you speak about it, but because you live it. You walk differently. You think differently. You no longer chase validation because you've built self-trust. You no longer wait for the world to confirm your worth because you already know it. That kind of belief doesn't just change your life. It inspires others to change theirs. You become proof that limits are illusions, that when a person decides to believe harder than they doubt, they become unstoppable. And that is the kind of power that nothing in this world can take from you. There comes a time when belief must evolve from a thought into a force. It's easy to say you believe when life is simple and everything flows your way, but belief's real purpose is not to comfort you. It's to strengthen you. It's meant to be tested, refined, and proven through adversity. Life will place obstacles in your path not to break you, but to expose how deeply your belief runs. When your plans fall apart, when your efforts go unnoticed, when your progress feels invisible, that is when true belief reveals itself. Anyone can believe when they see results, but only the strong believe when all they see is darkness. Belief is not the absence of doubt. It's the decision to move forward, even when doubt screams the loudest. Every time you take action in the face of uncertainty, you teach your mind that faith is stronger than fear. You begin to separate yourself from the crowd, from those who let doubt dictate their destiny. Because once you understand that belief is a muscle, not a mood, you start training it daily. And with every repetition of courage, that muscle grows stronger until nothing can shake it. The greatest obstacle most people face isn't the world outside them. It's the world inside them. The fears, the self-criticism, the hesitation to try again. These internal enemies are far more dangerous than any external challenge. You can't escape them, but you can master them. You do it by becoming aware of your inner dialogue, by catching every thought that says, I can't, and replacing it with, I will. That shift might seem small, but over time, it changes the entire structure of your mind. Because what you tell yourself every day becomes the foundation of who you are. Belief isn't built through miracles, it's built through consistent reminders of your worth, your strength, and your potential. The mind believes what it hears most often. So, if you fill it with fear, it will create limits. But if you fill it with faith, it will create power. You are not a prisoner of your thoughts, you are the creator of them. And the moment you take responsibility for your inner world, your outer world starts to transform. It's easy to look at your current reality and feel limited by it. The lack of resources, the failures, the people who don't believe in you. But your circumstances are not your destiny, they are just your starting point. What decides where you end up is not what you have, but what you believe you can do with what you have. The person who believes they can create something from nothing will always rise above the one who waits for perfect conditions. Because perfect conditions don't exist. Belief creates them. Every great achievement you see in the world began with someone who had less than what you have right now, but believed they could turn it into more. You don't need a miracle, you need faith. You don't need permission, you need conviction. You don't need guarantees, you need belief. Belief also demands patience, the kind of patience that refuses to quit even when progress moves slower than expected. Many people lose faith because they confuse speed with success. But growth that lasts is never rushed. It takes time to build strength that doesn't collapse under pressure. The universe will test your patience to see if you truly deserve what you're chasing. It will delay results not to punish you, but to prepare you. Every delay teaches endurance. Every setback teaches resilience, and every moment of waiting teaches you to rely on belief instead of evidence. Those who stay faithful through the silence are always rewarded, because belief that survives delay becomes unbreakable. In the end, belief isn't just a mindset. It's a way of living. It's waking up every day with the decision to trust yourself again, no matter how many times you've failed. It's showing up with purpose, speaking with confidence, and acting with faith even when no one is watching. It's choosing to see light when the world gives you darkness. Belief is the foundation of greatness because it turns invisible possibilities into visible realities. Once you choose to live by it, your life changes forever. You stop chasing certainty and start creating it. You stop fearing limits and start rewriting them. And from that moment on, nothing can stop you because belief has already made you unstoppable. There is a moment in life when belief stops being something you practice. It becomes something you are. You no longer need to force faith. It flows through you like breath. You no longer chase motivation. You carry purpose. That's the power of believing in yourself more than your limits. When belief becomes your identity, everything in your life begins to align with it. You start to attract opportunities instead of chasing them. You begin to act without hesitation because you've already made the decision deep inside that you are capable, worthy, and unstoppable. The doubts may still whisper, but they no longer control the volume. You've learned how to quiet them with action. You've learned that every fear fades in the presence of movement. You've learned that no one can define your worth unless you give them the power to. That is the true freedom that comes from belief, the freedom to live life on your terms without waiting for external permission or proof. Believing in yourself more than your limits doesn't mean you'll never feel fear again. It means fear will never own you again. You may still face setbacks, but you'll rise faster. You may still fall short, but you'll no longer see it as failure, only feedback. You'll start to understand that every fall was never meant to defeat you. It was designed to refine you. You'll realize that limits were never barriers. Hey, were checkpoints, testing your faith, your resilience, your vision. Each time you push through one, you unlock a new level of yourself. And once you experience that growth, you'll start to crave it. You'll begin to see challenges not as problems, but as portals, each one leading you closer to the version of yourself that has always existed inside you, waiting to be revealed. The journey of belief is not about becoming someone new. It's about uncovering who you already are beneath the layers of doubt and fear. Everything you've ever wanted in life already exists, not outside of you, but inside of you. The dream you're chasing, the success you're fighting for, the confidence you're trying to build, all of it is already within your reach. The only thing standing between you and it is belief. Once you decide to believe, the energy inside you begins to shift. Your focus sharpens, your habits align, and your discipline deepens. You start showing up differently. You stop waiting for the perfect moment and start creating it. You stop looking for shortcuts because you realize real success comes from consistency, not convenience. You stop comparing yourself to others because you finally understand. Belief makes you incomparable. You start trusting your path, knowing that everything that happens, even the setbacks, is part of the design meant to shape you, not break you. When belief becomes your foundation, peace follows. You no longer rush because you trust. You no longer fear the unknown because you know who you are. You begin to move with quiet power, the kind that doesn't need to prove itself. You start inspiring others, not by telling them what to do, but by showing them what belief looks like in motion. Your presence becomes a message that says, if I can rise, so can you. That's the legacy of belief. It multiplies. It spreads through energy, through example, through action. And soon your life becomes living proof that when a person chooses to believe beyond their limits, they become limitless. So, from this moment forward, stop feeding your limits and start feeding your belief. Stop replaying the old stories of who you were and start writing the new story of who you are becoming. The world doesn't need another person who doubts themselves. It needs someone who dares to believe in themselves so strongly that they become unstoppable. That person can be you. It is you. If you choose to step into it, you have everything you need. The mind, the will, the heart, the vision. All you need now is belief strong enough to silence every limit. Because once you believe in yourself more than your limits, nothing, not failure, not fear, not doubt, can ever stand in your way again.